live. This is the Hake Report, and we are streaming a few minutes somewhat early. And I'm going to explain to the people because people tend to tune in at 9, right? A lot of people, other than the people who are on the YouTube live chat and have no lives. No, I'm just kidding. No offense, guys. But I do like to stream live and read a little bit of news, but like I feel kind of bad reading the news when the news is going to be part of the show. So let me see if I can get to an item of news that is not necessarily show specific, because I'm going to be talking about some interesting things today, I think. And by the way, I'm wearing a t-shirt designed by Lock Your Door, and it says cool, and it has a picture of me. Is it weird to have a picture of myself on a t-shirt that I'm wearing? I don't know. It is Bearded Hake, Keck Radio. Can you hear me? So, I want to tell you guys that I am streaming on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. You guys know that stuff. You can find it on thehakereport.com, pretty much all my platforms. As far as live video streaming, if you go to hakereport.com/show, I think that works. But anyways, it's Sunday, December 29th, second to last day of Hanukkah, right? Because I think Hanukkah ends Monday night. 8 days of Hanukkah started last Sunday night through Monday night. And I'm going to get into that because there's been a bunch of attacks in New York City, seemingly mostly by blacks. I don't know. But let me just tell you guys, I came across this story. This is a side note, right? I came across this story about domestic violence or intimate partner violence. And it's such an eye roll, right? But I didn't grow up like this, but a bunch of Mexicans that I knew, or one Mexican that I knew he's American, right? But he identifies with the Mexicans because he's Hispanic. And he's a socialist, Democrat, Bernie supporter, probably. He did. And Fox News reports a McDonald's employees aid a drive-through customer who mouths, "Help me," to police. She mouthed, "Help me," to the according to the I guess there's video of the drive-through thing. "Help me." I don't know. It was weird. But they held up the line, and then police were able to arrive and arrest the man who is the suspect, right? But, I mean, we don't know the whole story, so we don't know if this was true or false, like a true victim of so-called attacks by the man, or not. And on top of that, they were Hispanics, and I noticed that, I don't know, these liberals that grew up siding with their mothers and against the fathers, and not really dealing with both sides of the issue, kind of like what Jesse Lee Peterson says. They don't deal with what the mother did wrong, only with what the father did wrong. And in some cases, it's not even something wrong that the father did. Sometimes it's false accusations and all kinds of madness. So it was just an interesting side note. I'm seeing like a bunch of stories to this effect. There was a story that went viral on YouTube of a woman who called 911 and ordered pizza. But she's like, "I'm ordering pizza. I'd like to order a pizza." No, you don't understand. It was a so-called domestic violence call. And then the 911 dispatcher realized that she was not ordering pizza, but she was really having a domestic violence issue. So he ordered cops to the house and arrested the dude. But she didn't want to alert the man. And so, I don't know, I guess these are feel-good stories in a sense, if it's real. But I just noticed that there's an increased attack on so-called domestic violence, and nobody dealing with the women, except for Jesse Lee Peterson and, some of the underground people. So, got to deal with both, because the men are getting weaker and therefore more violent. Just look at what happened to the blacks. And then the women are getting more out of control, but they're not getting checked in the mainstream. Anyways, let me get on to the real show.
Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Hey guys, I'm going to be talking about the attack on whites, the attack on Jews, the attack on conservatives and men, and it's very interesting. Lots of stuff happening. You can call in 888-775-3773. Have fun.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
You know, today I saw a thing in that said a lot of men, white men, were committing suicide. And I almost thought, yeah, great. You know? And then I thought about it a little more, and I thought, well, maybe you shouldn't say that in public.
Isn't that so funny? White men are committing suicide. That's great. That's what that man said, and he meant it. He really did mean it. He was maybe halfway joking, but this guy meant it. This video was tweeted out by President Trump, who said, "What kind of an animal is this?" And this video was from 2017. I just played you a video of a man, a Democrat. I'm told that he was Jewish by reporter / activist Vincent James. He said that he's Jewish. Named, what's his name? Fauchtman? Richard or something? Fauchtman? He was at this Maine. Maine is a state way up in the Northeast. It's the northeasternmost state in the United States, right? And there's a bunch of dumb idiot Democrats there too, right? By the way, Dylon is from there. Dylon's from Maine. But anyways, he was at this Democrat event, kind of like what Jesse Lee Peterson speaks at Republican events sometimes. Republican women of such and such area, Republican whatever. And so he was at this Democrat event, strategizing, activism, stuff like that. And he's all kissing up to the women and kissing up to the minorities, I think. And then he said, by the way, I saw this report. This is from 2017, right? I saw this report that white men, or men, and especially white men, are committing suicide. I'm like, yeah, that's great. That's what he said. Disgusting, huh? But people acted all outraged, when in reality, like, we know that this is how they think. So I have more of it. Let me just show you a little bit more of it. Let me play the whole longer version. You know which one it is?
I've thought a lot about this, and I think the main, what we need in Maine is we need younger people. Take a look. It looks almost like a lecture for Social Security in here. Okay, so that's one thing. We really need to encourage as many young people. We also need more women. Today I saw a thing in that said a lot of men, white men, were committing suicide. And I almost thought, yeah, great. You know? And then I thought about it a little more, and I thought, well, maybe you shouldn't say that in public. But really, we need more women in politics, and we need to really encourage them a lot.
Well, his point is just as disgusting as about we need more women in politics as the thing about white men committing suicide. That clip was courtesy of an outlet called Maine First Media on YouTube, and they were on Twitter, but I guess the tweet got deleted at some point. But it recirculated. It was from 2017, and Trump quote tweeted it and put, "What kind of an animal is this?" And he reacted like a man, right? But it went viral, by the way, back then. Washington Free Beacon covered it. Tucker Carlson, I believe, covered it on his Fox News show. Democrat meeting with open mic to say whatever. At the event later, a woman supposedly got up and said that he was wrong for saying that. And so later he apologized. But it did not get on video. at least not that we've seen. And I have a clip of him talking to the media afterwards. But first, let me show you, like, Trump calls him, what kind of an animal is this? Let me just show you the weak Republican response. You have clip, I guess, B? I don't know. Yeah. Play this.
He says he now regrets his comments.
It really wasn't funny, and I'm sorry that I did say that. I just happen to be a passionate, outspoken person, and sometimes I just engage my mouth before I engage my brain.
Passionate. You know what Jesse Lee Peterson says about passion? And that's why his warning to the whites, the Jew blamers. There's a lot of whites who are getting passionate about their whiteness and about blaming the Jews and all that stuff. And same thing with the people that got mad at Obama and mad at the media being evil. You can't get passionate or you'd say something stupid. You speak what you're really thinking and you get in trouble for it. He actually resigned from his post, by the way, which I don't think he should have done. He was part of, I don't know, some Democrat, whatever. But let me show you what the Republican response is. Play that one. I don't remember which clip it was even.
The video was condemned by several organizations, including the Maine Republican Party.
The disturbing part is that there's a collection of people in this state that would take humor or celebrate people taking their own lives, and those people were there at an official Democrat event.
Isn't that sad? That's like a kind of a weak response. That's sad. To me, maybe I'm overreacting, but he looks like he's just a beaten down, scared white man. That young guy, he seemed young anyways, responding. That was a representative of the Maine Republican Party, MEGOP. So, is there anything else? Oh, yeah, play the other part where he did say, or they, according to the story, he apologized later.
He also said after he finished speaking, a woman stepped up to the microphone and told him she was offended by his comments. He says that he later took the mic again and apologized. The Maine Democratic Party confirmed this in its statement. News Center was not able to obtain video of the apology. So did Fauchtman make a joke mocking suicide? Yes, verified.
Well, I don't think later he did resign from the head of some Democrat committee, right? I think that's weak. He should not have resigned just because he said something evil, because the Democrats are evil. That's what he's supposed to do, right? And Republicans, stupid Republicans, sometimes resign or get ousted. Like, of course, I talk about this all the time. The Iowa guy, Representative Steve King, who said nothing wrong. He said something right, that Western civilization is not supposed to be offensive. And he said, Western civilization, white nationalism, this is a quote from the New York Times, probably out of context. White supremacy, how did these things become offensive? And why did I go to school learning about how great Western civilization has been for, people? But he was kicked off of all of his committees. He should have been on some of those committees that you saw if you watched any of the impeachment inquiry hearing crap. He should have been on those committees. But no. Instead, some other weak Republican was. Or a Republican woman or something. The reality is nobody cares about anybody. Nobody loves anyone. It's just politically correct to hate whites because they're saying, the whites are saying the whites are Republicans, more than half of them, right? They stand in the way of that globalism, socialism, total degeneracy, evil. More than half do anyways. Let's say. They're slipping. Whites are slipping. That's why the suicide rate is going up. That's one symptom of it, right? But they're not all the way gone as men. The white men are not all the way gone. At least, they're trying. But they're more in charge. The white men are more in charge of their families as opposed to the government being in charge of the families. Although that's changing for the worse. they're becoming run by their wives. Even blacks are recognizing that white men are becoming run by their wives, although the black men don't realize that that's happening to them too. I've just happened to see that, right? And of course this man cheers on the destruction of white men. It's very interesting too that when whites talk about blacks, they talk about the black crime. Occasionally you'll hear some stupid white or stupid person, because I've heard Asians and others, Hispanics and others say this, be happy that the blacks are aborting their children and killing one another in the cities. But generally, when whites talk about blacks, they're talking about wanting the blacks to become better. And when they become better, they become more Republican, right? Well, this guy is happy that whites are just dying out. Kind of like Oprah, right? So, of course, this man cheers on their destruction. It was honest in his evil, right? But politicians are phony. And the local Republican reaction to this guy seemed to me to be phony and weak. And Trump said it right. What kind of animal is this? That's a good statement. I like that. So I have a little bit more about another man who spoke his mind. He recently died, and the liberals seem to celebrate. They call them racist and evil. Don Imus. Google some pictures of Don Imus for me, guys. I'm going to talk about him later. I'm going to get to some calls. But I also want to talk about this big in the news last night and yesterday, at least on Twitter anyways, because that's not real news. Twitter is basically like people's own little world, the media people's own little world. And the media people are not the real world. They're phony people. But I guess this is big news. A black male allegedly stabbed a bunch of Orthodox Jews at a rabbi's home in New York City last night. And there's been a string of what they're claiming is anti-Semitic attacks. Of course, we know blacks hate Jews, blacks hate whites, blacks hate white Jews. But there's been a whole bunch of black on Jew attacks, and a lot of, they call them hate crimes. They're not real hate crimes, and anti-Semitism doesn't exist. But they do target them because they're told this stuff by people like Farrakhan, that the Jews are the enemy. So I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about this Bret Stephens article in the New York Times. Bret Stephens being an anti-Trump rhino, who talked about Jewish genius. And this was viral on Twitter yesterday. I mean, I guess you could call it viral. Like I said, media people were all hyped about it, the liberals. But I saw a very interesting quote from I don't know who he is, this guy named Saurabh Amari. And one of my followers seemed to recognize him, but he talked about smartness versus simpleness. And it was a cool quote. I liked it. But first, let me get to Tony out of Florida. Tony, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, James. How about yourself?
Doing fine, thank you.
I wanted to call you up and call you out on your beta headline you got going for today's show.
Beta headline. The show title is called Attack on Whites, Attack on Jews, Attack on Conservatives and Men. Sunday, 12/29/2019. And why do you call that a beta headline?
Well, as a recovering beta, I can recognize it from time to time. No, I'm just messing with you, but I think your headline is a little weak when it comes to the Jewish thing, because it's specifically black on Jewish.
So what are you saying that it's what's beta about it? I don't get it.
Well, it's not telling it when you say the attack on Jews. It's so generalized. No, it's specifically black people targeting Jews.
Okay, whatever. But why is that beta?
No reason. It's not really. I'm just kind of messing.
Okay.
Around,
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's more than there was one guy with the Hispanic last name, and I don't know. And I saw one white guy, but it might have even been a Jew who threatened to bomb or bombed or something.
Media is running around showing.
What's that?
Those are are the two anomalies that the media is running around, trying to paint this picture like, oh, it's a whole bunch of white guys and anti-Semitism. No. Last night in Muncie, New York, a big black guy takes a machete, starts hacking away at a Jewish community. All over Brooklyn.
So you don't see that whites are hating Jews?
I'm talking specifically about what's going on in New York. All that other stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you're including that in your title, so I understand what you're saying. But specifically in New York, it's black on Jewish violence.
Yeah, I know that. I pointed that out, actually. But so you wanted me to include black on Jew? You wanted me to put all that in the title?
I think I was just kind of messing around with it.
Okay.
I think that in general, the media is missing the story.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They only want to attack the whites for it.
Yeah, but you know what? It's misleading and it's very dangerous because if you don't understand, these are real people's lives. These are people living in the city. These are people living in Brooklyn, living in Muncie, and if you're telling them, oh, it's this is going on, but in reality that's going on, it's dangerous. You know, they're messing with people's lives by
The people in those cities know that it's the blacks.
Yes and no. I spent a lot of time in New York, and there's a lot of cognitive dissonance. I mean, you can live
I know. Because they're
one
liberals. You know, it's interesting because a lot of liberals do end up getting attacked by Jews. I mean, by blacks, and they grow up that way. Some of them, like this guy, this punk rock guy. I forget what his name is, but he's an old timer now, and he used to write for LA Weekly. I'm blanking on his name. Henry Rollins, I think his name was. In fact, that guy might be Jewish, but he grew up being attacked, beat up by whites. I mean, beat up by blacks. And what does he end up being? A liberal kiss-up. And so
Howard Stern.
Howard Stern used to get beat up by blacks?
Yeah, he was raised over in Roosevelt, Long Island, which is a black community.
Yeah.
And his mother specifically moved to Roosevelt because she wanted to be this social justice warrior and integrate with the blacks. You should check out that story. It's interesting. But
All right.
He talks about how he was targeted at school by blacks and beat up all the time. And
Is Howard Stern a kiss-up too?
Yeah, I would definitely classify him as a left-winger kiss-up. He's not as radical. He's definitely not an AOC Democrat, but he's
Right.
a Joe Biden Democrat, let's say.
Yeah.
Pro-abortion. He's good on guns. He's good on a couple issues, but he's definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty vulgar. And if he's I don't know, whatever.
But James, the one specific thing I want to point out about last night's stabbing attack, if you look up on a map of Muncie, New York,
Yeah.
there's a great distance. It's about an hour drive from Muncie to Harlem, where the attacker was arrested.
Wow.
So there's a good probability that this was well planned for a couple of weeks. You know, like he planned the attack, he planned the time, he mapped it out, he attacked the synagogue. So there's going to be a lot more coming out of this case.
Yeah, we'll find out. We will find out. Appreciate this, Tony. Thank you, man.
Take care, James.
All right, you too. So this was breaking last night. It was in the New York suburb called Muncie. The suspect faces attempted murder and burglary charges, according to Fox News. And this is the end of Hanukkah, so there have been, it's been a bunch of attacks in Hanukkah. The New York governor, is that Cuomo? Andrew Cuomo? He called it domestic terrorism. Eye roll. Liberals fighting liberals, basically. So dumb. But according to BBC, witnesses said that this attacker burst into the rabbi's house, which was hosting a Hanukkah celebration, pulled out a large knife and began attacking people. Guests reportedly threw tables and chairs at the man, who then attempted to enter a synagogue next door before fleeing in a car. Apparently, they gave his vehicle info to police, and then they picked him up as he entered New York City. License plate scanners picked it up, where he was detained in New York City. And in Hake News of Friday, December 27th, Hour 3, I referenced a string of so-called anti-Semitic attacks. Blacks, including women, one Hispanic name, maybe it was a black Hispanic, assaulting Jews. Most so-called hate crimes, I think I mentioned, against Jews are vandalism as opposed to assault. But some of these have been assaults, where they attack They just punch people, beat them up, all kinds of crazy stuff. But that burning, by the way, so hate crimes are stupid. The burning of that rainbow flag over in Iowa, I think it was, by that Hispanic Christian guy, that was called a hate crime against homosexuality. Stupid, huh? Journalist and documentary filmmaker Mike Cernovich talked about this. He pointed out that the NYCLU, which is the New York affiliate of the ACLU, so-called American Civil Liberties Union, they're un-American. They sued to remove ultra-Orthodox Jews from a local school board in New York City area, and he cited a 2017 story from the leftist outlet The Atlantic, because he says that the far left is becoming anti-Semitic. And so the story with that is, like, there's this conflict where the Orthodox Jews are a big population in this neighborhood over in New York, and then there's also blacks and Hispanics in the area, in certain pockets of the area, and then the Orthodox Jews elect the Orthodox Jews to become running the school board, and most of these Orthodox Jews send their kids to private schools, Jewish schools, and so the blacks are complaining, oh, it's racism, and the stupid ACLU, NYCLU is playing racism because the Orthodox Jews are doing stuff that benefits more of the private school kids. But they want subsidized lunches. This stuff that they're complaining about, it's like, whatever. And it sounds like there's funding issues. And you know, when there's funding issues, that's people are always complaining. Also, by the way, a liberal Brooklyn judge, Laura Johnson, I think I have this headline, let a black female offender out, a black on Jew attack, black female, without bail. You know how on the Jesse Lee Peterson show it was reported that criminals or criminal suspects are getting out of jail free, no bail. They don't have to post any money bail, so they're getting out of jail until they have to show up to court. So this black female attender who attacked 3 Jewish women or something like that, I forget what the story was, they let her out, and she admitted to police, she's all, F you, Jew, blank, stuff like that. That's fine. But this same judge was the subject of police ire in New York City back in 2015 because Bill de Blasio, the mayor, the socialist mayor of New York City, had reappointed this same judge, Laura Johnson. And I don't think she's black. I think she's like an old white lady. Liberal, though. Female judge back in late 2014, early 2015. He reappointed her right after those cop killings, those Black Lives Matter inspired cop killings in New York City, when that black former Muslim guy or whatever he was, Ismail Brinsley, I think it was, he said, I'm putting wings on pigs. This is from Michael Brown, and might be for Eric Garner too or something like that. And so there was police assassinations. They killed an Asian cop and a Hispanic cop. He just murdered them in their car. I think they were police. There were 2 in the car. And right after that, there was another guy who was threatening police, allegedly, and she let him without any bail. So it's no bail. And she cited this, this bail reform thing where they are letting criminals out without having to post bail in this recent one, this black on Jewish attack. But it's just interesting because she let the police threaten her out of jail free back in 2014, early 2015. No money bail. Isn't that interesting? Released on his own recognizance. And same thing with this black woman. So that's lame. And what I saw on Twitter, and I don't know if it's true, is that Orthodox Jews tend to support Trump by like 80%. Is that true? I wonder if that's true. And then, of course, the blacks are a bunch of liberals. They end up being, occasionally you'll find one that's not support, but they tend to hate Trump, including the black Hebrew Israelites. A bunch of them hate Trump. Interesting. And I mentioned the black Hebrew Israelites because they're mad at the Jews too. It's not just the black Muslims, the Louis Farrakhan types. So just interesting. As let's see, Anton Chigurh in what is this, Twitch, says, just when I thought Hake couldn't get any more white, he breaks out with that shirt. That's funny. So shout out to D Live. I'm gonna be opening the treasure chest if I can remember. Joelle, remind me to open the treasure chest at if I even can. Never mind, I'm probably not going to be able to open it. I don't see anything in the chest. No chest, move along. Oh yeah, there it is. I lied. So, Merry Christmas, guys. 100 lemons in the chest. It's so generous, huh? So I'm going to open the treasure chest at 9:30, my time. So, Joelle, click the box thing. Remember. What's up, guys? Shout out to CC, Noah's Arkansas, Hip Pockets, something. Thank you, guys. Should I, by the way, I'm in the YouTube chat, or I'm just now looking in the YouTube chat. Is Nicolas modded? Can you guys mod him? Oh no, you can't mod him. Nick, do something. Oh, okay, here. Maybe I'll mod him. I guess he's trustworthy. Nicolas Gonzalez. That's the Jesse Lee Peterson's producer. Born in Miami. Anyways, let me get to this Bret Stephens, who's another, he's a Jewish guy. I thought he was a regular white guy. From New York Times, he wrote this column in the New York Times on Jewish genius. I do have headlines on this one. There it is. Opinion from New York Times, out Saturday morning, right? Or Friday night, I don't know. The Secrets of Jewish Genius. It's Not About Having Higher IQs by Bret Stephens, opinion columnist. And Bret Stephens used to be, I knew about him from Wall Street Journal because he had a great post called article, I should call it, called Ferguson Lies and Statistics. And by the way, my t-shirt is gonna be available for sale, but it's not yet. What do you guys think of it? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Good or bad? I'll put it up for sale on the Hake Report Teespring store, but it's not available quite yet. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, right? I have more designs to show you guys. Shout out to Lock Your Door. Thank you, man. Anyways, so I saw this tweet out of context. I don't have it to show you guys, but it's from Saurabh Amari, and I loved this tweet. Regarding the thing that has Twitter and the discourse riled up this morning, and I didn't know what he was referring to, right? And he says, my own view based on reflection and life experience is that God is closer to the simpler among us, and that raw intelligence and the scientific technical mastery it breeds are more of a curse. Isn't that interesting? And I find that to be kind of true. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. There's a whole lot of people that say simple things, or that are just simple, right versus wrong, stuff like that. Good versus evil, truth versus lies, just simple. Are seemingly lead better, happier lives, more respectable. Whereas the people that say, "Oh, it's complicated," and the people that are intelligent and can and want to and rationalize and excuse their own evil and others evil are lame. And then there's, so I don't know, people get into all kinds of education. And there was all kinds of crazy reactions to this tweet, too, by Bernie supporters, liberals, and all kinds of stuff. And they called him like, oh, you must be closer to Jesus. You must be Jesus Christ himself. Because they were calling him stupid, basically. His name is Sohrab, Sohrab, Ahmari, Ahmari. And so that's the guy who tweeted that. I think he's Catholic, to be honest, even though he sounds Arab or something. So later I figured out he was referencing this New York Times op-ed by anti-Trump rhino Bret Stephens, formerly of Wall Street Journal, also formerly, I think he was the top editor of Jerusalem Post. His article is titled The Secrets of Jewish Genius. It's not about having higher IQs. And he cited info saying that Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, which are the white ones, I guess, have higher IQs. True, he says, I spit. Pardon me, guys. But that's only part of it, he says. Also, they think different, is what he said. And isn't it supposed to be think differently? Whatever. He said that Jews challenge one another and ask why not. And isn't that interesting? That's definitely what the liberals do. Why not have same-sex marriage? Why not blah, 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 blah? So that made me think of that. But the stupid liberals are mad at him for referencing a supposed white nationalist who was maybe behind that study that Jewish people have Ashkenazi Jews have higher IQ. But this article was pretty uncontroversial, honestly. And then some liberal in the responses posted a meme. I wonder if I put that meme in there, Joel. Saying Jewish voters are leaving the GOP. No? Man, I'm fired. I need a producer. Okay, back in 2014, 66% of Jewish voters were Democrat, 33% were Republican. 2016, 72% were Democrat, 24% Republican, and this was from Jewish Democrats or something like that, or whatever. 2018, 79% Democrat, 17% Republican. I don't know. And that's according to Pew, he said. And it has a picture of Trump next to it, even though Trump is better for the Jews and America and everyone than Obama or anyone else. They're just blind. So, I'm going to get to, I got some interesting text messages that I wanted to read to you guys. I'm opening the chest, though. Boom. Distribute the rewards. Hello. I'm opening the chest. Click the chest. Hopefully it's opening. Okay, yeah, it's opening. By the time you hear this, it will have already opened. It'll be too late. So, oh yeah, Joel is even sleeping on the job too. Not literally, guys. Not gonna live that one down. Noah's Arkansas, congratulations. Spanglish, congratulations. Shaggy Boy, Patrice O'Neill Groiper, and Tex-Mex, congratulations, guys. Congratulations. I have a quick note about, from Bible Go-To Guy, about, the blacks and Earl from Michigan, his call on Friday, and other things. But first, let me get to some calls. Let's see. Skip out of Atlanta, Georgia. Skip, what's up?
I'm not no Atlanta, Georgia. You know that.
Oh, that's weird.
I'm in Augusta, Georgia.
Augusta, Georgia. Somebody called it Atlanta.
Well, I don't know how they made that mistake. There's too many.
Maybe they thought you were visiting the gays over in Atlanta.
Well, you got to worry about that, James. Hey, speaking of Atlanta, have you heard about all the chicken bones they've been finding on the ground up in Atlanta?
I feel like this is a joke again, and it's going to go right over my head.
No, this is true. This is a true story. You can go pretty much anywhere on YouTube and look up chicken bones on the streets of Atlanta, And you would not believe how many chicken. And this ain't what I called you about, but since you brought up Atlanta,
Yeah.
there are so many chicken bones on the streets and the sidewalks of Atlanta that, I mean, it's crazy.
Well,
It really is. I mean, they love that chicken up there. There's a lot of blacks in Atlanta, which you got.
and so they're just littering. They're just littering the chicken bones.
Yeah, they'll eat the chicken.
All right,
and they'll throw the
appreciate.
bones,
That's
they'll throw
terrible.
the bones down on the ground.
That shows poor education, and by education I mean poor manners. Like you don't throw
Well,
trash on the streets. Anyways,
well,
man.
It's bad upbringing. You're right about that. It's bad upbringing.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Well, look at it. The reason why I called you, and look it up. Get Nick to look it up for you. Maybe you can do an interesting story on that.
All right.
About chicken bones in Atlanta. But I called you because a while back I made a comment on your show, and you answered a comment, and you said, "This is what you said. I can't quote it verbatim."
Yeah.
But you said, "I don't really care about the out of control blacks. That's something that happens every day. I don't really care about that." And I'm like, hey, how can you not care about it when it does happen every day, and the 13-14% of the population, and they're causing so much doggone trouble? How can you not care enough about it to want to report on it?
It's that it gets a little tiresome to be reporting on it constantly. I guess I should report on it more. I used to get in trouble for reporting on it too much as Jesse Lee Peterson's producer and stuff. So I just been looking at the other stuff. I would like to, wow. Thank you, Ralph Retort. Ralph Retort with 65 viewers is hosting the Hake Report. Thanks, man. It's not that I don't care. I mean, nobody really cares, really. Nobody really cares. But, yeah, that's all I meant by that.
Well, look here. You know, I see a lot of people make comments about Jesse and saying that he hates the blacks when that could be furthest from the truth.
Right.
He loves the blacks, and because he talks about the way they are out of control, and he's trying to, bring them back to the light, kind of, make them. First, you got to recognize what the problem is before you can do anything about it.
Yeah.
And he talks about it a lot, but and the reason why is because he cares about all people. I know.
No,
that.
he doesn't care.
Huh?
He doesn't care. He loves them. He doesn't care.
He would like to see them do better.
Yeah.
Well, that's caring about them, James.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference. There's a difference between getting emotional about it and riled up about it. Because like the stories that I pick, they're just stuff that strikes my interest that I come across, right? And yes, I would like to cover a little bit more of the blacks, but but you seem to be all into it like crazy, and like trying to force me to cover it.
No,
and you're calling my topics boring, which I can definitely understand it, right?
Well, look here, James. Look here. Don't nobody want to hear about Donald Trump's housekeeper or that little flaming Japanese man that caught on fire. Let's talk about something important. We don't care about Trump's housekeeper ain't going to help us get any better. And that little flaming Japanese or Chinese man over there, that's a whole other country. Let's talk about what's happening on our streets every day.
But those were interesting stories. I liked them.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
But James, let me tell you this: I don't make those comments towards you to say that I dislike you or anything. It's just that I don't see really where you're coming from with some of them stories. I really don't.
So that the reason that let me just explain those two stories. That Trump housekeeper story is very interesting to me because these were illegal aliens working for the Trump organization, right? And in some cases working, I guess, for the Trump family directly. And allegedly, well, no, what the housekeeper claims is that they had fraudulent documents, and then they claim without evidence that the managers knew that they were fraudulent documents, that they were not undocumented workers, they were fraudulently documented workers, right? And now they're turning on the man who employed them, and the Washington Post is acting like, oh, these are such upstanding people who are loyal to Trump and devoted to the Trump organization. No, so much for that loyalty. They're smearing Trump in the Washington Post. So I just think that it's very interesting. And then the other thing about that point of that story was that Jesse Lee Peterson makes the point, you don't you don't turn on the people who have helped you. And Trump helped them. Unknowing, he didn't know that they were illegals, but he helped them by employing them. And what do? They turn on him. And so it's just, there's a whole lot of interesting aspects to that story. And then, what was the other one that I covered? Oh, the other story that I find very interesting is the Hong Kong protests. The Hong Kong protests, people want to bring them here as refugees, some of them. I don't want to do that. These people are college students. They're liberals. They're just socialists. And yes, they are fighting a communist government, but I don't trust these people. And some of them, I don't know if they're controlled opposition from the Communist Party, but they're lighting up these guys on fire who were opposing them. He's like, you're not Chinese. You are not Chinese. What do? They light them on fire. And those were the so-called Hong Kong protesters who lit considered pro-China, normal Chinese Hong Kong guy on fire. It's so interesting because I don't hear the other side of the story where what are the Hong Kong protesters doing wrong? And who are these people that a lot of guys, including like nationalists here, are supporting? I support them kind of, but I don't support them in terms of I want them to come here. I just want them to fight it out, and if they can get their independence, right on. But if not, that's not my problem. But I just find it it's so interesting to see a guy get caught on fire. You're not interested in that?
Well, not really, James.
You're too old for that stuff. I get your point. There is a whole lot of problems here in America, for sure.
One of the smartest things that Jesse's ever said, ever come out of his mouth is, if you got problems in your own country, solve them there. Don't come over here and bring your problems over here.
That's right. Country. Yep. Yeah. You know, there's one thing, Skip, about you that I still consider a snake about you. Is that you don't see Jesse's wisdom, though.
I see some of his wisdom.
You call him, you say, Jesse's just entertainment, nothing more.
For the most part,
he is very entertaining, true, but people go to him because he's telling wisdom and the truth, and you don't seem to see that.
I see some truth, but I see some lies mixed in there with that truth.
Name one lie, and then I'll let you go.
Well, don't let me go. I got one more thing I want to talk to you about. All right. When it comes to biblical truth, I see some things that he is kind of off kilter on a little bit. But that's neither here nor there, because it's not for me to change nobody, and it's not for him to change nobody. It's for him if he wants to talk about it. And this is the way I look at it.
You called you started out calling it lies. Now you're calling it a little bit off kilter. And you haven't named the lie yet.
That's a nice way for a lie. You want to be nice? Or you want to
name the lie. Name the lie.
All right. He says that Jesus was created. Jesus wasn't created. Jesus has always been with God.
When did he say Jesus was created?
When did Jesse say it?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Let me go back and go look.
Yeah, because I don't remember him saying that he was created. And how do you know that he was always with God?
And the Bible, but there you go again.
But the Bible says that he was the only begotten Son, and the firstborn over all creation. So where's the lie? If he's the firstborn over all creation, maybe he was created, maybe not. I don't know. But I don't remember Jesse Lee Peterson saying it. His biblical question was, hold on. His biblical question was Christ created? And he never answered that one. He said, "You guys gotta start thinking for yourselves."
And I like that about Jesse, because he gives the people that really care. It gives you a chance to go and do some research and look and see for yourself.
Yeah, but you're not going to find the truth by just researching.
Well,
anyway, Skip. I'll give you 30 seconds because you said you wanted to bring something else.
Okay. Did you watch last night on CBS where they had about the kids in the cages and everything?
No.
Well, get Nick to look that up. Oh, my God, that was so tearful and sorrowful about the kids being separated from the parents and everything. And You need to get Nick to look into that. You could do a whole segment on that. That's an awesome story. Cause, I mean, they were really making Trump look like he's a devil.
Yeah.
And Obama was doing the same thing before Trump came.
Nobody cares about kids in cages. It's better they be in cages rather than in. They're better off in. They know that they're going to be in cages. They're better off in the cages than where they were. In fact, we should send them back to where they were. Anyway, Skip, gotta go. Take care, man.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, thank you. All right.
Bye.
Hot Computer Smell out of Virginia. Hot Computer Smell, how are you?
How are you, Hake?
Doing fine. Nice to hear from you.
Thank you. So I saw the other day that Earl called in, and I just wanted to give you a few pro tips. I know he takes forever to get to his point, and that's not anything new.
Hold on a minute. Hold on one moment. Hot Computer Smell.
Oh, my.
Hold on one moment. Okay. Just type to me. Okay, sorry, Hot Computer Smell. I got distracted.
That's fine.
Go for it.
So the thing about Earl is, like, he takes so long to get to his point. It's like a half hour after he starts that he's finished, like 10 minutes to finish one sentence.
Yeah.
I mean, and I say this all in love because I love Earl. I love Maze. I love all of them.
Nice.
But the issue with Earl is, like, the only time he hurries up is when you piss him off. And I don't mean to say that, like, you know, I don't mean to be mean or anything, but whenever you say something and then he gets upset because he thinks what you said is stupid, like, he'll hurry up and make his point.
Right.
But other than that, he's really slow. It takes forever. That's the thing that Joe should have told him instead of saying, like, you know, you should back your stuff up with evidence and all the crap like that. Because one thing I thought Earl was a hypocrite about was he was like, you know, Joe, you can't call people idiots and try to make your point. I'm like, you say the same thing to Jesse all the time. Like, you always call him an idiot and you think you're going to get through to Jesse. He just laughs that off.
Yep.
So, I mean, Joe, like, the thing about Earl, I think one of his lungs got on retirement or something because he needs to. I'm sorry. I just think that Earl needs to get it together because he's constantly winded and out of breath when he's trying to make his point. Hopefully that changes in the future. But until then, we need to raise funds to donate a lung to Earl, you know, our next fundraiser.
Yeah.
But that's all I really have to say. I love Earl. Everyone's amazing. But anyways, I hope you have a good weekend. I hope your Christmas was nice.
It was, Hot Computer Smell. And Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Very nice, Earl. Take heed. Let me get to Maze out of Dayton, Ohio. She is my favorite caller. Maze, what's up?
Hello, James.
Hey.
I have some news for Skip. You can sit here all day long and give all of the news you want to on black people, but he needs to understand that he commits crime too, and you need to give the news on him so he can know that they commit crimes and something's wrong with them too. And then we can come.
You're saying Skip commits crimes too?
His people commit crimes too, but he don't want to overlook
Skip
that.
doesn't commit crimes.
No, I didn't say Skip. I said he wants to look at the black crime and overlook his.
He what crimes has Skip committed?
A Caucasian crime going away? The criminals, they're not doing criminal things anymore?
Caucasians?
Yeah.
Caucasians are committing crimes?
Are they? Or did they stop?
Nah, they're committing more and more crimes. They're following in the footsteps of the blacks. Very true.
No, they're not following in the footsteps.
Yes. Well, to be honest, yeah, it is very interesting because whites and blacks have like different issues, right? Because the root is anger, or whatever you want to call it, right? The sin. But the symptoms end up being a little different. Whites get scared. They get away. Smoke more.
Get expunged.
As in nicotine.
So that's why
and they're higher stress people. And so like the visuals of it look a little different. But yeah.
A crime is a crime regardless of what color you are, right?
Right.
And they commit the same crime.
So they should you agree with me? They should get rid of hate crimes, so-called hate crimes?
Well, y'all don't know what hate crime is, so how could somebody...
So we should get rid of them, right?
Hate crime.
No, since nobody knows, since we all don't know what hate crimes is, we should get rid of them, right?
If they got rid of it years ago, it wouldn't exist today. But if you still
no, I said we should abandon that term, hate crime.
Abandon it.
Yeah, it's not a real crime.
What should you call it?
Because you should have freedom of speech Just because you say everybody's full of hate, right? Let's say some blacks hate whites, some whites hate Jews, some whites hate blacks back, and all those things. And let's say you N-word and hits him. Just because he said N-word, now you think you're a mind reader. That's a racially motivated hate crime. No, it's an assault, and you should go to jail for the assault.
It's been an assault on black people to hear somebody say that. If they had some brain power, they wouldn't say it. You don't.
Yeah,
you
I know.
Hear,
Whites are not very slick. Sometimes they say stuff like that. It's
say
funny.
It out of hatred.
No, but who cares? Hatred is not a crime.
Everybody can't get that.
Hatred is not a crime. Everybody's full of hate.
They do it out of hatred.
You do it out of hatred?
What am I doing? I'm just telling you the truth. Like Skip.
No, because you're because
his crime the same way he want to look at.
No, because Skip happens to know that. Hold on, Skip happens to know that blacks are committing crimes like crazy.
And so is
and you don't.
You don't know that?
Huh? So are who?
You don't know that y'all committing crime too?
Yeah, whites are committing crimes too, but blacks are committing crimes like crazy.
Really? Okay,
yeah, really. You don't want
to overlook the crime. I said, did y'all stop committing crime?
So you're overlooking black crime and then accusing us of overlooking white crime.
I'm looking at both crimes, white and black.
No, because you're not admitting that blacks commit crimes like crazy.
Tell me some crime that a black person commits that a white person don't.
That's dumb, Maze.
No, that's
you're a deceiver.
I'm asking you a question. Tell me a crime that black people commit that white people don't.
They just commit. They all commit crimes, right? But blacks commit more per capita.
Really? If you
yes,
so.
really.
That's where you want to put it and have people in denial.
Well, you're the one in denial, Maze. You're the one in denial. It's so phony.
Now, some criminals you can't find until they done murdered up about 50 people or 60 or 100.
I know and blacks get away with more crime than whites do.
You still got the mafia around.
Mafia is not white. Those are Italians.
They put one of them in jail.
Mafia is not white. Those are Italians.
Whatever.
The only white Italian was Christopher Columbus. He gets the credit for being white.
And also with this stuff from these Jews, I'm not lying. I didn't hear no black people saying that the Jews wanted to replace us. I heard somebody else say that.
Whites said that Jews will not replace us, right? Because they're mad because the whites are mad because a lot of Jews are in charge now.
Oh, really?
And they're bringing in diversity and immigrants. And so because of all the immigrants and the high birth rates of those immigrants and the low birth rates of the whites and all that stuff, they're getting replaced. Whites are getting replaced. So, I mean, it's their only problem is they shouldn't be mad.
When the dinosaurs and all the things before humans came on Earth, when they replaced, you got to be replaced one day. That's something.
Yeah, we shouldn't protect endangered species. I totally agree.
And upset about it.
You agree with me that we should get rid of these people who complain about climate change.
Climate change. I'm not talking about climate change.
Thank you.
I'm talking about change.
Good.
Things change.
Yep.
You should be used to change.
So are you happy that whites are getting replaced?
What?
You happy that whites are getting replaced?
What you mean happy?
Are you happy?
I don't understand.
Are you excited that whites are getting replaced?
I'm wondering why you're getting upset.
What do you mean upset?
You just said you were upset about it.
Huh? I didn't say I was upset about it. I said a lot of whites are.
I said the dinosaurs were replaced, so...
Yeah, good.
So just live with whatever you have to live with.
Whites dying, dinosaurs dying, whatever. Very interesting call, Mace. Thank you.
Because, James, at one time it was just black and white, and we had to live with what happened to us, didn't we?
You don't even know what happened to you. You don't even know. Nothing happened to you.
What?
You had to move off the sidewalk. Big deal.
No, I'm not talking about a sidewalk. I'm doing the thing that we see today where you say white people doing like black people.
Get over it, Maze.
So committing crime.
I gotta go.
No, James, you want to run now. That's how you do it.
Maze, let me ask you a question. Did you get married for Christmas?
Yeah, I got married on Christmas Day.
What the heck?
I don't celebrate holidays. I told you, birthdays and my anniversary.
Ah.
And Christmas Day just happened to be
on Christmas Day this year or Christmas Day 50 years ago?
Christmas Day so many years ago.
Wow, happy anniversary, belated happy anniversary, Mace.
So that's why I don't celebrate pagan days.
And how did this come up? How did our staff find out before me?
How did the staff find out about you? He was telling me happy holidays. I said I don't do holidays. I only do birthdays and.
I'm very offended that somebody in our staff said happy holidays. That's disgusting.
Well, He didn't know because he hadn't been there.
He should have said Merry Christmas. We say Merry Christmas.
Well,
Not you,
are.
sir.
I don't follow people.
Well, happy anniversary to you, Mace.
He gave me my brain to use. Some people got it so they can use other people and say what other people had to say. So, Skip, tell him to stop dropping cats off in people's neighborhoods.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2.
Nice. That's very low.
What do you mean, low?
That's a low. That's not even replacement.
I am not indoctrinated to do what other people want me to do, James. Have you figured that out? That's you. That's people that follow.
How about your husband? Does your husband? Do you do what your husband wants you to do?
Do I do what my husband wants me to do?
Yeah.
Like what?
I don't know.
If my husband asked me to go rob a bank, no, I wouldn't.
Oh, come on. That's ridiculous. Has your husband wanted you to do that?
My husband want me to do.
I gotta go, Maze. Nice talking with you.
James, I put it like this: my husband is not my father; he is my husband, and we know the difference between a father and a husband.
Yeah. All right.
So you have a good one.
You too, Mace. So, speaking of this man who spoke his mind, Don Imus died at age 79. That's too young to be dying. Look at him. He's looking like a cowboy with his wild hair. He looks like a meaner version of that Clint Eastwood guy. Old timer. Clint Eastwood, by the way, I think he's 90 or something. So that's Don Imus. He was a radio talk show host, I think, for ages. I think he was on Fox News Radio. And I heard of him from Jesse Lee Peterson when I first started coming to Bond and listening to the radio show a little bit. Jesse Lee Peterson spoke a lot about him on his radio show back in 2007. And you can hear some of those because we've been putting some of them out. I've been putting some of them out on premieres on Jesse's channel. And he's been pressing dumb liberal black pastors and feminists about Don Imus. And the reason was that Don Imus was punished for his freedom of speech, for using his freedom of speech. He called black female basketball players nappy-headed hoes. Can I say that word out loud? But people acted like he owed an apology to the entire black community and to black women especially and stuff like that. The trashy far-left outlet Huffington Post reported on his death their evil towards him. They called him racist and other stupid, non-existent things, probably sexist and stuff. They had some great, funny / coarse jokes, quotes from him. He was funny. Of course. But funny. He insulted some particular Jewish media guy, getting very descriptive on his appearance about his nose. A bit vulgar, actually. I don't want to repeat it. I wonder how he looks about this particular figure. I think he works for Fox News now. But that's insecure people trying to oppress you. And so maybe you'll hear more about Don Imus on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. Maybe I'll get some clips of him. Jesse Lee Peterson will never allow anybody to take away his freedom of speech. But idiots want to, under the pretense of respect and inclusiveness, if you're inclusive, then you're inclusive of their own free speech, but you're not. So I saw these headlines called, "Please don't wish me Merry Christmas." And that's what Jewish anti-Christian intellectuals, liberals, they write these in academic books. Like there was a whole book called that, talking about Catholicism and anti-Semitism throughout history or something like that, which, whatever. And then the anti-Christian, of course, Washington Post came out last year with an article, this woman saying, "Oh, please don't wish me Merry Christmas." That was her headline. They're worse than Scrooge. So, but one last thing, Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow is an MSNBC reporter or host, lesbian, the top MSNBC one. And she was rooting for the Steele dossier to be true. The Steele dossier, the one that alleges all kinds of nasty things about President Trump. Turned out that it was mostly unfounded and not true. And it also gave credence to the so-called Russian collusion thing, and she gave credence to it. And then when it was debunked, she never really debunked it on her show. Snake. And then this guy in the Washington Post called Eric Wemple confronted her about it. He also called Sean Hannity a conspiracist for some reason. I don't know why. But she accused some guy of being creepy, a liberal reporter, for questioning her on it. She's like, you're trying to discredit the Steele dossier or the Russian collusion thing by discrediting me. It's creepy. What a feminist. That's a feminist anti-man word. But you know how that guy Earl, who got called out by Hot Computer Smell, thank you, Hot Computer Smell, accused me of just using anecdotes on Friday about blacks? Baba Gochu guy says 40% of the prison, correct. 40% of the prison population is black. Is that anecdotal? And I will note that 14% of the general population is black. So they are triple representation in both cop killers. 40% of cop killers in a recent decade were also black. So they're triple their share of cop killers and criminal prisoners in prison compared to the population. Very interesting. All right, guys, church in 1 hour, less than an hour, with Jesse Lee Peterson on the Jesse Lee Peterson's 6 channels. It'll be on Mixer and Twitch and Facebook, as well as the usual YouTube. Subscribe to Bond Rebuilding the Man on YouTube. It's an excellent channel. Church with Jesse Lee Peterson is unlike any other church service that you've encountered. Open forum, kind of. And very good dealing with real issues. All right, guys, take care.